Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CSM for Intune webinar. My name is Juha Haapsaari, and today I'll be presenting you how CSM for Intune service works and how it could help you to manage your application environment and distribution. This webinar is arranged together with Angel Garcia, our friend partner, who helps us to promote CSM services and also help promote this webinar. So today's webinar will take about 30 minutes, and then we have reserved some time that we are able to go through some of the questions that you have had during the webinar. So ask all the time when you have questions about our services. So you are able to ask the questions in the chat. And my colleague will be online all the time, already answering some of the questions during the webinar. But at least we are going to go through all the questions at the end of this webinar, or maybe after the webinar when we are delivering the recorded version of this webinar. So, a little bit background about CSM service and what CSM is today. So we have more than 250,000 devices already connected to the CSM services and getting the application updates during from the service. And also on the service, we are updating yearly more than 500 different applications. And more than 100 customers are already joined and receiving the updates for the applications from these CSM services. And the CSM services, the CSM for Intune is just one of the products that are available in the CSM service family. And in the background on all of these CSM services, the core actions are taken care of by Centero. And these core actions and tasks that we do include monitoring of the new application versions and also checking if there is any vulnerabilities found for these applications. So we will look for the software vendors when they release new versions. And then we do the hard work for these applications. So we are making sure that these applications are suitable for organization distribution. And what I mean about with that is that we will remove, for example, additional toolbars that would be otherwise installed, for example, to the Google Chrome browsers, and also disabling the application's own internal update mechanism. Because usually the end users doesn't even have the correct permissions to install the updates by themselves. And we are updating the applications using our CSM service. After this packaging phase, we are going to do the technical testing for each of the application. And these technical testing tasks include installing the package silently. So we are verifying that we are able to do that. Also, we are checking that we are able to uninstall the application if that is required to be done sometime. And also important step is to check that we are able to upgrade the previous version of the application. And if these technical tests are passed, then we will do also deployment testing in our internal environments. And we are doing the testing with all the supported deployment services that we have, integrations available in the CSM service. So in addition to CSM for Intune, we have already fully automated similar services available for Microsoft Config Manager and also Microsoft Visors. And in addition to those integrations, we have also fully cloud available services, CSM Cloud for Workstation and CSM for Servers also available. Okay, so if you think about checking the versions and when the software vendor releases new versions, that takes a lot of time when you do that manually for every of the application. So of course you have to monitor when there is going to be a new versions available. And then in addition to that, when new version is available, then you need to do always same tasks, downloading, maybe packaging, testing the application, and then uploading to management system and creating the deployments. So usually about 2 hours work for every application version. And this is the work that the CSM Services automates for you. Okay, but today's topic is CSM for Intune. So let's go and see how the CSM for Intune service is configured and how you would be able to use that service to update your applications with Microsoft Intune service. So whenever you are starting to use CSM for Intune, whether you are activating the trial phase or making the order for the service, you will land in our management portal. And you will connect or log into our management portal using your own Active Directory credentials. And in our management portal, we have a CSM for Intune service status page that contains all these links to different places where you are going to configure the first things before creating the deployment processes, and also links for the actual deployment process phase. But first thing, you need to make sure that you are able to use the CSM for Intune service. And we have a link here with instructions, more detailed instructions, but basically you need to make sure that you have this Intune available, you have the licenses to use the Intune, and also these Windows 10 devices are at correct level. So you are able to distribute applications from Microsoft Intune service. After that, in our management portal, you are able to start to select what applications do you want to include into your service. So basically, we have this public catalog available in our management portal, where you are able to select the applications that you want to include to your service. And these are public versions, so always available for you. You are able to anytime include applications and also remove applications from the service. And in addition to these applications, we are able to provide you any custom applications also. Whether the custom application is just a customization for these public applications, but also if you really require organization-specific applications, we are able to do that for you and include those also into the service. And from here, from the public catalog, you are able to see which of the applications are available in CSM for Intune service. And because the Intune is not able to distribute applications to 32-bit devices, we have only 64-bit applications available, or applications that we are able to install to the 64-bit platforms. So after you have selected the applications, the next step is to connect your Intune tenant to our service. And we are using Active Directory-based applications to do that. So we have two different applications. Centero Azure AD Connector is the application that connects to your Azure AD and reads the groups from there, because we need to have the groups later on when we create the deployments. So that is used for that. Then the second application is CSM for Intune application, and that application itself is used to manage your Intune tenant. So basically that will require access to your applications inside Intune. And both of those are these Azure AD applications. So basically exactly the same way as the other applications, the tenant administrator needs to consent the permissions for these applications. So maybe you are not able to do them by yourself, but the tenant admin in your environment is able to give the access to the applications. So after we have created the permissions for these Azure AD applications, we are able to link your tenants to our management portal. And you are able to link any number of different tenants. So if you have several Intune installations, so Intune tenants, you are able to link all these tenants to here. So basically just specifying the tenant name and linking that to our management portal. And on this stage already we are checking that you have granted the proper permissions to our application, so they are able to contact your tenant and reach the groups from there. And after this configuration is done, then we are ready to start to create the deployment processes itself. So once again, from this service status page, you are able to go directly to the management of these deployment processes. And as you are able to see, I have here already created some deployment processes. So you are able to create any number of different deployment processes based on the needs of your environment. When I select this browser's deployment process, I'm able to select which applications I want to distribute using this deployment process. And in this case, I have selected that Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox are the applications that I want to distribute using the process that I will define. And the process itself, it's defined in the Deployments tab. And in this deployment process, I have included 4 different deployment steps. And the first step where everything is started is the deployment to one of my Azure AD groups called Technical Pilot. And if I go into the edit mode, we are able to see what kind of configuration you are able to specify for each of these different deployment steps. So the first one, Technical Pilot, is the target for this step. I have selected that this deployment type is required. You would be able to also create available deployments. Then I have selected that, okay, I want to show all notifications to my end users, but you would be able to hide them all or just show notification if restart is required to finish the installation. Then additional Intune related configuration is, for example, these restart settings. You would be able to specify how do you want to act when restart is required to finish the installation of in this case, Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. So these settings will let you do that then. And then email notifications, these are related to our CSM service. So you are able to specify email addresses that would get notification when the deployments are created or when the application itself is created into your tenant. And of course, if there is some problems, some errors connecting, for example, to your tenants, you would be able to specify email addresses where these error information notifications are sent. And on the scheduling side, I have selected for my pilots that application availability is as soon as possible. And also I have selected that installation deadline is soon as possible. So in this configuration, whenever we release new version of Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, it would be immediately available and immediately installed to the devices or users belonging to this technical pilot group. So immediately make the application available and installed to the devices and groups there. And in the next step in my deployment process, I have specified that the target is IT department. And editing this, I will show that almost all the configurations are the same. Maybe email notifications are sent to different groups. But now on this deployment step, I have specified the application availability as soon as possible once again. I could also make the application availability scheduled. But because this assignment type is required, that basically only tells to the Intune when to start to download the installation media. So at least for now, the Microsoft Intune service does not provide a way for the user to start the application installation when they want. So it's just controlling when the installation media is started to download onto the clients. But on the installation deadline, in this step, I have stated that it's going to be scheduled installation, and I want to wait for 2 days before I'm going to install the applications to IT department. So in this configuration, because we are waiting for 2 days, there's 2 days time for these pilot users to report any possible problems that occur with these browsers then. Maybe the problem is that you have business applications that does not yet work with the latest version of Google Chrome or this Mozilla Firefox. But if there is no feedback coming from this pilot group, the process will automatically go forward. So based on that, after 2 days at 6 p.m., we are going to force the installation on our next step, and the target was the IT department. I would be also able to specify day of the week for the deployment process. So if I want these applications to be forced on installation only on Wednesdays, that could be possible. And also you are able to specify day of the month if you want to install the application specifically only on certain dates of the month. Okay, so that was my second step on my deployment process. And third step I have specified here, the target is all users. And if I go to the edit mode, this assignment type is now available type. So that will make the application available for the users. And then the users would be able to install the application from the company portal application. And here, application availability is set to be scheduled. So once again, I'm waiting for 2 days for the input from the previous step. And the previous step was the IT department. But if once again, no problems reported from the IT department, after 2 days, the IT department devices were installed, this application will be available for any user. So they are able to install the application. And in my deployment process, the last step is the production deployment. So in this step, I have specified once again that assignment type is required. And then I have specified that the application availability is as soon as possible. And the installation deadline is scheduled. And in this case, I'm waiting 3 days. So basically, after the IT department installation is paused, we are waiting 2 days for making it available. And after that, we are waiting 3 days to force the installation to any user or device belonging to this Azure AD group. And once again, the time is set to 6 p.m. for the forced installation. So this way, you are able to build your own deployment processes. You are able to use one deployment process if that fits to all of your applications that you want to include into the service, or you would be able to create, for example, application-specific deployment process. And if you have several the Intune tenants available, you are also able to include any tenant into your deployment process. So you would be able to create single deployment process that will deploy the application to all of your tenants. And when creating these deployment process, you are able to see simulated publish times underneath here. So this helps you to see what would happen if we would release, in this case, Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. So you are able to see what would be the available and the deadline times on each of my deployment steps. Okay, so this is the way that you build your deployment process and combine that information and select the applications that you want to deploy with these management or these deployment processes. And because we are doing the installations using Microsoft Intune service, the integration itself connects to the Intune service using Microsoft Graph API. So we are just automating the tasks for you. So whenever we release new versions, we will check what is your current deployment process for that application and create the applications and deployments into your Intune tenants as you have specified in your deployment process. And if I go to the Microsoft Intune application or this management portal, here's one application that was created by CSM for Intune. And in this case, it's Adobe Reader DC. And of course, because this application is normal Microsoft Intune application, as you would have created this manually, we just created that using the API. So you are able to get all the functionality out from the Microsoft Intune management portal. So you are able to see the device status, the user status from the overview page. And also you are able to check and you are able to modify also these properties that we have set for the application itself. So here, for example, on the bottom, we have these assignments, so you would be able to create also your own assignments and so on. And of course, the Microsoft Intune Management Portal is able to give you more detailed information. What are the devices that have installed the application? If there is, for example, failure in the installation, you are able to go into the details from here. What is the failure reason for that specific device? Or maybe also what is the reason for the failure for the specific user? And for the applications that consists more than one application installation package, like in this Adobe Reader DC, we always or usually have this batch file that contains the latest updates, and then we have this base MSI package. So in our case, the CSM for Intune uses this Microsoft Intune dependency features to build the deployment process so that we are always deploying this latest patch, but that knows that if there is no Adobe Reader DC at all installed on the device, it will need to install that base MSI package first and then apply the patch file. But if the Adobe Reader DC is already installed on the device, we need to only include the latest patch. So we will just update that to the latest version. Okay, in addition to detailed information about these deployments in Microsoft Intune Management Console, we are able to see also summary information about the installations directly from our management portal. So once again, in the service status page, you are able to see the deployment summary for devices, and also beneath here is the installation summary based on the users where you have distributed the application. And on this summary page, you are able to see the number of installed applications, so on how many devices this application is installed. If there is some failure, how many devices are in failure stage, what are still pending, what are not installed, maybe the devices that are not able to install the application at all. And also the compliance percentage, you are able to see it from here directly. So this basic summary information already available from the Manage portal, but the details, if you need those, you are able to always check from the Intune Management Portal. Okay, but if some problems are occurring on the installation on our processes, so for example, the reason that your business applications are not yet working with the latest versions of the application that you want to distribute, so maybe there is a need also to stop the deployment process. So you don't want to go to the production deployment, and that you are able to manage in our management portal. So scheduled deployment shows the installation that is going to happen sometime in the near future or in the future in your environment. And from here, you are able to disable this deployment step. So this application would not be then deployed to these devices. And you are also able to reschedule the installation. So if you need to disable the production deployment, for example, you figure out what is the problem and you figure out what needs to be done so you are able to start or continue the distribution, then you would be able to come here and reschedule that installation to desired time. Okay, so this is the way how CSM for Intune automates the tasks for you. So you need to make the basic configuration, the deployment processes, and after that you have created the processes. Our service and this integration into your Intune tenant make sure that automatically all the new versions are added to your Intune tenant, but they are always distributed using the process that you have defined in the management portal. Okay, so this is how CSM Intune works. And if you want, you are able to start your free trial for the product. And as you remember, this CSM for Intune is also fully cloud-based solution, as is Microsoft Intune. So basically, you don't need any server-side installations. You don't need to install any clients, additional clients to your Windows 10 devices. So if you already have Intune service available, and you have enrolled your Windows 10 devices into the Microsoft Intune, you are immediately able to start the trial phase and test the CSM for Intune service for us. But of course, if you want, we are also able to create or make an additional presentations for you. So you are able to contact us, and Kimmo would be the correct contact from our side. So we are able to make a presentation for you if you want to go some issues in more details. Also, this webinar will be recorded or is recorded, and we are making this recording available for you shortly after we end this webinar. But okay, let's see if you have had some questions during the webinar, but please, at least now, you are able to send the questions to us. Okay, so there is a question. Do you provide packaging services, and is it possible to use CSM for line of business applications? Yes, so we are providing packaging services. So we are able to include any application to CSM for Intune that is meant for Windows 10 devices. Line of business applications, if you mean in the mobile device world, we don't yet have a possibility to distribute for the mobile devices. But Windows 10 devices, any application we are able to include in the service and distribute that using CSM, and you are always able to specify the deployment process. How do you want to distribute those applications? Okay, so able to configure automatic deployment rules. So I guess this question means similar things that are available in Config Manager. And these Config Manager automatic deployment rules are used to deploy Windows updates. So because we are creating an integration into the Microsoft Intune, the Microsoft Intune is kind of responsible also for these operating system updates. And in Microsoft Intune world, usually the Windows operating system updates are handled using these update services for business. So this is something that you would be able to use together with CSM for Intune. But at least currently, CSM Intune is taking care of this application updates and application installations, not doing any operating system patching. Okay, so the next question, is it possible to modify these CSM packages that we are releasing? For example, if I want to change some settings for Firefox. Yes, that's possible. As I mentioned, we have this public catalog available, and you are at any time able to include the applications there, and they are immediately available for you. But these are public applications. They don't contain any customer-specific configurations. But if you would like to have Firefox created for you so that it would include, for example, homepage settings, maybe some add-ins you want to use in Firefox, we are able to make that for you. So in that case, you would contact us and tell what kind of modifications you would need to the Firefox, and we would be able to provide that for you as a customer-specific Firefox installation. But exactly the same process you would be able to specify from the management portal. Good questions. There was some question about indicates that application is installed on one exact computer and it has to be patched. So basically, CSM for Intune deploys the application on all devices that are members of these groups. So you would be able to make the application available for users, so then they would be able to install the application. But required installation, they will install the application to the device or user, whether the user is using a previous version or not. The latest version will be always installed the device. In future, we will be releasing a functionality where you would be able and are able to create a functionality where these available installations are able to create as a forced upgrade, meaning that that then we know that, okay, the user has a previous version of the application installed, and then we would force the new version to be installed for these devices or these users, but not for all users in your environment. Okay, does Centero require any additional agent installed on endpoints? So this one is, this is a good question. And with CSM for Intune, there's no need for any clients in the endpoints. So only thing that you need to have the Intune service set up, and then you need to enroll your Windows 10 devices to Intune, and then there is required things available. So we just on our integration, we will create the applications and deployments into your Intune tenant, and then the Intune is able to distribute the application, and that does not require any additional client installations. So question about big applications like Adobe applications, maybe some Adobe application bundles containing a large installation medias. Those applications, usually they are organization specific, they require licensing from organization to be used, but we are able to publish those applications using CSM for Intune also. And if the installation media is so large that it over or exceeds the limits on the Intune package size, we are able to distribute the application so that we will split the installation media to smaller chunks, and then we will deliver the chunks to the clients, and when all the chunks are present on the client, we will start the actual installation. So yes, we are able to also distribute and support these big, usually organization-specific applications. Good question. We still got a good question coming up, so I will be showing you that. So the questions for pricing of the solution. And you are able to find the pricing details from our websites. So by going to the software-manager.com and then selecting the features and pricing from there. And here you are able to select or see the different features that our different products offer. And the CSM for Intune is the first column here from the products. And further down by scrolling, you are able to see the pricing model. So the pricing is a monthly fee, and it contains basic fixed fee, 50 euros per month. And then the actual other component is a unit price per application per workstation. So the number of applications that you have included into our service and the number of workstations you are distributing, all the users you are making that application available affects on the monthly fixed fee. And if you have a large environment, so the combination of applications and workstations would make amount that is bigger than 1,000 euros, we have a maximum price for the service. So the maximum fee for this service using this public catalog application is 1,000 euros per month. Okay, and if you are also a service provider, make sure to also see that we have the service provider model also available, and the information is also from our website, and you have here also the pricing models available for service provider model. So if you provide IT services to other companies, you would be able to also use this service provider model to offer any CSM products from our family to your customers. Okay, but if there is no additional questions coming up, I would like to thank everyone for attending to this webinar, and hopefully we have given you the information that you wanted and have made a clear statement what kind of application or service the CSM for Intune is and how it could help your application management. So please go ahead, start a trial or contact Kimmo to go forward if you are interested in CSM for Intune service.